certainly, you know, it's amazing. I can't tell you how many people I've removed. And you have to understand, what I'm accusing them of is perjury of oath, treason, sedition. I mean, these are all like jail time, okay? And so they will never, ever, ever admit that anything I did had anything to do with them leaving, okay? But I can't tell you how many times I filed a criminal complaint against someone and all of a sudden they're gone. It's just more times than you can imagine. And so anyways, we'll keep moving here. Adjustum generis, okay? This is a maxim of law used to interpret loosely written statutes, okay? Where a law lists specific classes of persons or thing and then refers to them in general, the general statements only apply to the same kind of persons or things specifically listed. Example, if a law refers to automobiles, trucks, tractors, motorcycles, or other motor-powered vehicles, vehicles would not include airplanes, since the list was land-based transportation, right? Now, based on adjustum generis, this is the definition section of the Title 26 United States Code, and it says, the term person shall be construed to mean and include an individual, a trust, a state, partnership, association, company, or corporation. Does anybody want to tell me what the word individual means? Exactly. Exactly. It's a fictitious entity. And if you look it up, it's actually found in Title 15, United States Code, Section 44. Because I went and told them that in the U.S. Supreme Court. They admitted that a U.S. citizen is a Title 15, United States Code, Section 44, unincorporated corporation. And that's what Section 44 talks about. And it's an unincorporated corporation. It's a corporation that basically it says that it can have a board of directors, but it doesn't have to. And it can have executive officers, but it doesn't have to. Yeah, you'd have to read it. It's some typical wordsmithing, these lawyers. Well, shall is mandatory. Yeah. At any rate, okay, let's keep moving here. Include, okay, this is another word they like to use. Include, or the participial form thereof, is defined to comprise within, to hold, to contain, enclose, comprise, comprehend, embrace, and involve. Okay, so include is restrictive. And there's another maxim of law called expressio unis ex exclusio alterius. Okay, a canon of construction holding that to express or include one thing implies the exclusion of the other, or the alternative. For example, the rule that each citizen is entitled to vote implies that non-citizens are not entitled to vote. That's it. So that confirms the include being restricted. Now, you'll see two kinds of things in this presentation. You'll also see them elsewhere, okay? Then there's an actual quote, okay? And in this case, you see the quote. It's in quotation marks, but you'll also see summaries, okay? This is a quote, and I'm going to show you it in a quote, and I'm going to show you it in a summary. I like the summary better. And so, but anyways, somebody called me on this, and so I always tell you so that you know, and you already know. Anyways, but the subpoena is in the form of an official command, and even though improvidently issued, it has some coercive tendency, either because of ignorance of the rights on the part of those whom it purports to command, or their natural respect for what appears to be an official command, or because of their reluctance to test the subpoena's validity by litigation. That's a quote out of that case. Here is the summary of what that thing says. Because of their respect for what appears to be a law, many people are cunningly coerced into waiving their rights due to ignorance. I like that way better. But that essentially summers it up, right? If you think about it, that's a summary of what that quote says. Now there's another one. A distinction, this is actually a quote, that should be in quotation marks. A distinction was taken at the bar between a state and the people of a state. It is a distinction I'm not capable of comprehending. And that's in Penhallows versus Doan's Administrators. That's a quote. This is a summary. I like this better. Inasmuch as every government is an artificial person, an abstraction, and a creature. Actually, before I get into that, this thing actually goes into about a 2-page diatribe of why the judge cannot distinguish between the people and the state. Okay? And it goes into quite a lengthy diatribe. It's at least a couple pages. And so this is only just the beginning of it. Anyways, this is a summary of those 2 pages. Okay? Inasmuch as every government is an artificial person, an abstraction, and a creature of the mind only, a government can interface only with other artificial persons. The imaginary, having neither actuality nor substance, is foreclosed from creating or attaining parity with the tangible. The legal manifestation of this is that no government, as well as any law, agency, aspect, court itself, etc., can concern itself with anything other than corporate artificial persons and the contracts between them. Okay? Remember, there's nothing the government can do to affect the rights of the people. Okay? There is nothing. They cannot see you. Okay? If you do it properly, they cannot see you. Okay? A good example is a bank account without a social security number. Okay? If you don't all my bank accounts, none of them have social security numbers or whatever. Yes.
So this applies under color of law here. This is only under their corporate law structure. This would not apply, this statement would not apply under common law. Is that correct for the most part?
Well, it's basically, you know, they recognize common law, and that's one thing that you see these court cases that say there's no common law in the federal jurisdiction. Actually, they recognize that it exists. If you go to the Supreme Court, you know, in their rules, it talks about common law. Okay? And but having said that, if you are in the federal jurisdiction, there's no common law in that jurisdiction. Okay? The Supreme Court recognizes that common law exists, and you can make a common law argument to the Supreme Court and be successful. But as far as if you're dealing with one of the agencies of the federal government, there's no common law there. And it's just like all police. You know, I mean, have you thought about this? They're all U.S. citizens. All these courts, those judges are all U.S. citizens. That's all U.S. courts. I don't care if it's state of Texas. It's still a U.S. court. And that's all. That's all. There's no common law there, and that's why if you go in there and start talking common law, then the judge will say that Constitution doesn't apply here, and I don't want to hear another word about it, and he'll be right. Okay? You're in a contract, and what you got to do is you got to lay a foundation to the point that you have common law, and they don't want to talk to you, because that's what will happen. If you have access to common law, they don't want to talk to you. This is actually taken from a book that's called The Non-Ratification of the 14th Amendment by this Judge A.H. Ellett of the Utah Supreme Court. And this is in a case called Diet versus Turner. If a citizen acquires the same legal status, artificial character as those protected by the amendment through the operation of some statutory law of Congress, then said citizen may be brought within the venue of the amendment as a statutory juristic person. By this means, citizens' birthrights become of no effect, and their rights are reduced to the inferior character of statutory civil rights, mere legislative privileges. Okay, so there's a couple things. Again, it's talking about how you get involved with one of these statutes that you essentially give up your rights. Okay, but it has to be voluntary. And this same case talks about how you have to volunteer. But there's lots of ways they get you in there. Okay. There's a bunch of them. Zip codes is one. And I've noticed when I went across the border here recently that they didn't want to know a zip code on that little border crossing card that I had to fill out. I flew. And I thought that was kind of interesting. So there's me and a bunch of other people were hitting them on that stuff. And so I think they're getting the message. At any rate, you know, most of them are just honest, hard-working people, quite frankly. And it's just a few crooks. But what do? You root them out and prosecute them. You know, if you got a crook, you root them out and prosecute them. You build a case against them. And so, you know, that's what you have to do. If my rights get violated, then it's my duty, and that's what I told them. Okay, it's my duty. Matter of fact, I had a visit. The FBI and the Texas Department of Public Safety visited me a couple of weeks ago. That's when the Texas Department of Public Safety told me, I was sovereign in their system. And it's very interesting because I think it's the FBI that really wanted to see me. But I was putting in my documents that I have the right to resist an unlawful arrest with lethal force if necessary. And I do. There's court cases that talk about it. But I kind of might have pushed it a little further. I said, I shall resist any unlawful arrest with lethal force if necessary. But I said it's if necessary, you know. And, you know, they were a little bit worried about that. But I told them that quite frankly, I have no intention of doing that because that would make me worse than them, you know. And the whole idea is estoppel, okay? It's a form of estoppel is what it is. But so, anyways, so we had a nice talk actually, and that's when the Texas DPS officer told me like 3 times, and I thought, I was sitting there thinking to myself, okay, I heard it the first time, but he told me 3 times that I'm in their system as sovereign, and I thought that was kind of interesting. But you know, the cops in Texas don't stop me. I mean, knock on wood. You know, it's not like I go looking for trouble either. But yeah, you know, they haven't. They don't stop me. So, anyways, so the important thing here is that you get into it if you acquire the same legal status as those protected by the amendment. That's talking about the 14th Amendment. Okay, then you get brought into the system. Okay. But remember, who do they bring in? That's not you. That's your straw man, okay? And I've won court cases based on that, and we're going to talk about that today too. And civil rights are inferior. Unalienable rights are the ones you want. So, now we'll talk about some statutes. Do you want to pause it here, there, Larry? Or do you want me? Okay, we'll keep going. These are some Canadian court statutes. Get a load of this. I mean, they really do, if you read the statutes and understand the law and how it works, it's right there in front of us. Look at this. Canada, for greater certainty, includes the internal waters of Canada and the territorial sea of Canada. Well, so does that have anything to do with Alberta? Absolutely not. A person, or any expression or descriptive of a person, includes a corporation. So does that have anything to do with any living souls? A person, this is the Alberta Interpretation Act. A person includes a corporation, heirs, executors, administrators, or other legal representatives of a person. Well, gee, that sounds like corporations and lawyers.